Mohsen Saleh is an academic and political commentator joining us from Beirut, and Farshidbagherian is a political analyst who joins us from Karaj, here in the Islamic Republic. Thank you to you both. Let me first start with you, Mohsen Saleh. I think the spokesman hit the nail in the target, so to speak, when he said that based on what happened to Syria and the way that it withstood the onslaught of this terrorists and the war on Syria overall, that this would curb foreign interventions. That sure meant a victory for Syria, and of course for Iran in a sense, who was a lifeline for Syria, and of course a signal to countries like the US, where they would think twice about foreign interventions. Is that correct?
Well, actually, yes, and more than that, we should know that these countries or some of the Arab states were contributing to this conspiracy, the American conspiracy against Syria, who financed and trained and armed these terrorist groups. And of course, one of the states, also Turkey, who led the frontiers against Syria. After the Syrian victory against these terrorists and this conspiracy, I guess they have to save themselves, because these terrorists were also hostile and of course against these regimes in the Arab states. And we should know that Syria is one of the first states who founded this league. So they did not have the right even to say or to boycott Syria. So it's good to have their minds return to their interests in the region, and should not listen to the United States conspiracies against the region. And of course, when the Americans wanted to cut these countries from their origins, I guess they have committed a great mistake, and they are doing the same thing, and they have done that or tried to do that to Iran, and they are doing that to Russia now. And of course, they are scattering their evil doings in these regions in the East and West Asia.
All right, as if that wasn't bad enough, Farshidbagherian, the way that Syria came out from this onslaught and this war on Syria, you have now this the country as a whole being embraced by some of the, if not all of the Arab countries, which the readmission to the Arab League was the final stamp of approval of Syria coming back into the fold. What kind of message does that send the U.S., which seems to be changing its tune, though in the beginning the U.S. Did not approve and condoned the countries who are even their U.S.'s allies for starting to normalize their relations with Syria?
Thank you very much. Despite that all the terrorist group in Syria, the northern part of Syria, are US-backed, but I don't consider this kind of peace process as a message to the US itself. Because, you know, after the decade of the turmoils and the pro-democracy uprising that led Syria to a catastrophic civil war that it cost more than 500,000 lives, this is a message to the world that the region is approaching to a process of the principle of self-determination. This is not only for the US. It means that we are, as a Muslim countries, as a region countries, we are trying to build our destiny, to build our future by ourselves. So I believe that this is the substitution of power, and this is the balance of power. If you use your basis as a Syrian or Arab League or the Muslim countries, if you use the basis for safeguarding the country of Syria, definitely you will expel all the other and the foreigners from the region. And this is not, again, this is not the message only to the US. You know that the construction and rebuilding of the Syria and the position of Syria in the Arab League that it used to be belonged to itself. So because the sanctions is still running, and it means that the Arab League, the Muslim community, especially with Iran, they are trying to reconstruct and rebuild Syria with its own capital and finances. Yeah, this is for your first question. Yeah.
All right. Based on that notion, then, Mohsen Saleh, when you have countries that have shown a lot of interest in rebuilding and to reconstruct Syria, aside from Iran, also you have other countries like the UAE, like even Saudi Arabia that have shown interest in this. How can this process happen when you have Syrian soil occupied not only by the U.S. In terms of its presence there, which brings about insecurity, but because of the draconian sanctions, the Caesar sanctions in particular, that have been executed against Syria? How will that, isn't that going to challenge any reconstruction efforts of any country that wants to do that?
Well, I guess the minute the Saudis want to make this agreement or treaty with Tehran, they started to move in according to the American dictations. That's to say that the Saudis found that the Americans are dragging them to many dangerous and hostile and aggressions against Arab states and Muslim states, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and others, and they have lost. They have lost all these attempts in order to change the realities on the ground. That Iran and Syria and Yemen, they have people, they have leaders, they have new access, the access of resistance, and I guess they have lost also even Lebanon. So if they want to go in this track to the maximum, I guess they would lose their people even, because they can't trust them anymore in their allying with the United States and the Western conspiracies. I guess this is an enforced speaker in terms of creating rulers and regimes that can do whatever, like puppets for them, instruments. So they have now their interests. So they looked after a long time, and I guess they missed opportunities, many opportunities with Syria. We know that in Lebanon, as Syria and Saudi Arabia, they have to arrange many things. Look at Lebanon, there is no president because these things did not take its time and its agreements and cooperation between Saudi Arabia and Syria. So we have many things to say about new way of dealing with things. Doing good things with Iran, because Iran did not attack any country of these. Syria
Right.
did not attack. They attacked them. They attacked and they put their all their fortune, let's to say, their money in order to distract. And now they have to construct after of course, the Iranians, the Lebanese, the Iraqis, the Yemenis, the Russians all participate in attacking these terrorists. So they have to come now. The Saudis, they have to agree, especially with the Russians in terms of petroleum, and they have to agree also with Iran about the situation to make peace and stability. That would not take these countries into abyss like what the Americans want. Now we have a new stage. If they really come to these terms, returning the Syria, they returned to Syria. They went back to Syria, not Syria. Syria preserved its identity, its also way of thinking, its regime, its position from the issues, especially the Palestinian issue and its independence, its relation with Iran from 1979. We have now principles which Syria preserved and kept and defended in order to make a new way of life for the peoples in the region. And they succeeded. That's why these Arabs, they should take this position, serious position or attitude, in order to ameliorate their situation.
All right.
Well, not against the United States, but at least not to let them go against their peoples.
All right, very well. Unfortunately, out of time. Thank you so much for that, Mohsen Saleh, academic and political commentator, farshidbagherian, political analyst. Thank you to you both. With that, we come to an end for this edition of the News Review. Thanks for tuning in.